This is the video lesson for number 8-2. We are going to be learning how to construct a perpendicular bisector to any given line segment. Here we have line segment AB. To construct a perpendicular bisector, we are going to take our compass and we're going to take our sharp point and put it right there on point A. We're going to make sure that we open the width of our compass to more than half of our line segment. It doesn't matter how much more than half, it just has to be more than half, but you don't want it to be more than line segment itself. So you can see how I've gone just a little bit more than half. I'm going to come down and make an arc below, and then I'm going to make an arc above. If you want to go ahead and just make one continuous arc, it doesn't matter, you'll get the same result. So now I'm going to take this sharp point and move it over to point B and do the same thing. Make an arc below and an arc above using the exact same measurement. Now we're going to take the 2 points that we just created and connect them using our straight edge. So now we have just constructed a perpendicular bisector to segment AB, and this is our midpoint, and we're going to label that midpoint C. We also want to put a symbol to show that it's perpendicular. The other thing we want to do is put a tick mark on the left and a tick mark on the right to show that segment AC has the same measure as segment CB. So 3 things we just did there. We labeled the midpoint C, or whatever it tells me to label it. I drew a right angle to show me that this is a 90-degree angle right there, that they're perpendicular. And then I put a tick mark here and a tick mark here to show that this segment has the same measure as that segment. So you need all 3 of those things on your notes. Okay, number 2. We're going to do the same thing again. We are going to construct a perpendicular bisector through segment XZ. When we are done, we're going to label that midpoint Y. Okay. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab our compass, and we need to make sure that it goes more than half. So I'm going to make an arc below and an arc above. Then I'm going to transfer this point over to Z, and we're going to make an arc below and an arc above. If you want to go all the way, it doesn't matter, you'll get the same result. Now we're going to connect these 2 points that we just created. And we're going to label that midpoint right there Y, and then I'm going to put a tick mark to show that segment XY is congruent to segment YZ. They have the same measure. Last thing, I need to put my symbol for a right angle to show that this segment and this segment are perpendicular. Okay, one more. We are going to construct a new segment, JK, whose measure is 1/4 the length of segment GH. Okay, so we have to think about how am I going to make one that's 1/4? Well, up here, I've already made a segment that's a half. So in order to make a segment that's a 1/4, I'm going to find half of a half. And 1/2 times 1/2 is 1/4. So the first thing I want to do is I want to find the perpendicular bisector of segment GH. So I make sure it's more than half. I'm going to go ahead and make an arc above and an arc below. Move my point to the other side. Do my arc below and my arc above. I'm going to connect these 2 points right here. So now this part right here is half of segment GH. So if I find half of this part right here now, I'll get a fourth of segment GH. So we're gonna do the exact same process again, except we're gonna pretend like now this is our new segment. So this now is our new segment, and we're gonna pretend like this side doesn't even exist. So I'm gonna get out my compass, and I wanna go a little bit more than half of this new segment that I just did. And I'm gonna go below and above. Now I'm gonna take my point and stick it right here on the new point. And go below and then above. And we're gonna connect those 2 points. Okay, now, if you notice, it has the word new. Whenever you see new, that means we're doing a whole new segment. So we're not starting with anything that we already had. So I need to copy from here to here, down here, and that's gonna be segment JK, and it's gonna be a fourth of what GH is. So I'm gonna put my dot right there. I'm gonna go ahead and draw my line. So we're gonna copy the line segment. Come over here and measure the distance between those 2 points that I need. Got my measurements. I come over here now and I mark that. And we're going to label this JK. So I've constructed a new line segment, a new segment JK, that is a fourth of segment GH. Okay, so now it says that if the measure of GH, if you'll notice on this one, it doesn't have the segment above it. That indicates we're looking for the measure of GH. So if the measure of GH is 3.6 units, then find the measure of JK. Well, we know JK is a fourth of 3.6. So I have 1/4 of 3.6, which is going to be 0.9 units. So the measure of JK equals 0.9 units. The other way I could have done it is I just could have said, well, I've divided into 4 equal sections, so I can just do 3.6 divided by 4, which is still 0.9. Dividing by 4 and multiplying by 1/4 is the same thing. We'll give you the same result. Okay, on number 5, we want to find the midpoint of each side of triangle ABC. So we're going to go ahead and do the exact same thing to each side. We're going to find the perpendicular bisector of side AB, perpendicular bisector of side BC, and the perpendicular bisector of segment AC. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with AB. So once again, put my point right here on A. I'm going to open up my compass to more than half. That should do it. I'm going to go a little below and above. Move this over here now to B, and same thing. My arc below and my arc above. Connect those 2 new points. And this is the midpoint of side AB, and we're going to label that one X. Now let's go ahead and do BC. So we go more than half. We go below, make an arc above. Same thing on the other side. Make my arc below and my arc above. Now you can see I didn't go far enough, so I've got to go back over here. Finish that arc up. Okay, and now we're going to connect this point and this point. And that's midpoint Y. Gonna go ahead and do it now to side AC. Make sure it's more than half. Looks like it already is. So let me go ahead and make there. And this is going to be midpoint Z. Question number 9 asks, what do you notice about the perpendicular bisectors here? And if you'll notice, they all meet at the same point right here inside the triangle. And that point has a very special name. It's called the circumcenter. Okay, and so if you make perpendicular bisectors of the sides of the triangle, each side of the triangle, and then connect them, you will find what is called the circumcenter. Okay, so we notice that they all meet at the same point called the circumcenter. The circumcenter is the point that is exactly the same distance to each vertex. So what that means is that if I was to measure the distance from angle A to the circumcenter, it would be the same distance as from vertex B to the circumcenter and from vertex Z to the circumcenter. So that's a special property about the perpendicular bisectors of the sides of a triangle, that they always will meet at the circumcenter, and the circumcenter is that exact point that is the same distance from each vertex, that makes it equidistant from each vertex. So it's kind of a special point. Okay, now we're going to talk about how to bisect an angle. Okay, so we're going to bisect an angle. And the first thing we need to do is we're going to put our point, our sharp point here on A, on vertex A. Get a little smaller here so I don't go off here too much. And I'm going to make an arc that just goes across the entire angle. Now we're going to keep that measurement, and I'm going to put the point right here on that new little point where it crosses the ray. I'm going to make an arc inside. Take that same point over the other ray and make an arc inside. Then I'm going to connect this new point I just created with the vertex, and that just cut my angle in half. It just bisected my angle. So I know that this angle has the same measure as this angle. Okay, let's try that on B now. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make an arc that goes across and creates a point on each ray. So I'm just going to go ahead and go across there. We keep that same measure now, and using this point, make an arc inside. Using this point, make an arc inside. And now we connect the vertex to that new point that we just created. Showing that this angle has the same measure as this angle. You need to make sure you put your tick marks to show that they're the same. Also, I forgot on this one to put my arrow on the end here to show this is a new ray, because now this is an angle and this is an angle. So make sure you have your tick marks showing that they're the same angle, and you have your arrow showing that that is a ray. And that's how you bisect an angle. Okay, we have one more on the back. Let's go ahead and see if we can do that one. So we're going to bisect angle C. This is definitely an obtuse angle. It's quite large. So I want to go ahead and go all the way across. And this time, put my point right there. And I'm going to go ahead and make my mark inside. Let's see how this works. Kind of a big one. We may need to go a little bit wider on that. Oh, nope, we're good. We can go ahead and connect it right there. So that point with the vertex. Make sure you put your arrow at the end to show it's a ray, and then tick marks to show that this angle has the same measure as this angle. And that shows that this ray right there has cut the angle in half, has bisected it. Okay, this time we're going to construct a new angle whose measure is 3/4 the measure of angle C and is named angle D. So once again, we're going to be constructing a new angle that is 3/4 the measure of angle C and is named angle D. So how am I going to find 3/4? Well, I know how to find half, I know how to find a fourth. If I know how to find a fourth though, then what's left over is 3/4. Let's go ahead and bisect this angle. I'm going to go ahead and put my point right here on the vertex C, and I'm going to draw my line across. Sorry, my arc across, not a line. And put my point right here on the point the arc made with the ray, and we're going to make an arc up there, and we're going to make an arc up there. Now we're going to connect vertex C with that new point we just created. Okay, so now this is half. Let's do half of this one now. And we already have our arc going across. So once again, I just need to use that one now. And I'm going to extend that one out. And then put my point over here and extend that one out. And now connect those. So this is a fourth, which means that from here to here is 3/4. So I want to copy the angle that is in orange. I'm going to copy that one. Okay, so let's review how to copy an angle. So we're going to come back over here. I'm going to go ahead and put my dot right there. This is going to be angle D. And I'm going to go ahead and put my bottom ray down. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm still going to use the same measure I've had the whole time here. And remember, we make an arc going across. I keep that same arc, and I come over here, and I make that same arc over here. Okay. Now I want to measure the distance from here to here. How wide is that angle? So there's my distance from there to there. Now I take this point and put it right here and make my mark. And we're going to connect those. So I have constructed a brand new angle D that is 3/4 the size of angle C. Last part says, if the measure of angle C is 80 degrees, find the measure of angle D. So I just need to know, what is 3/4 of 80? So I'm going to get out to this and go, well, what is 3/4 of 80 degrees? And I'd get out my calculator and put that in, and I would see that 3/4 of 80 is 60. So I know the measure of angle D equals 60 degrees. Okay, our last one, number 11. We are going to bisect each angle now of the triangle. Before, we did the perpendicular bisectors of each side. This time we're going to bisect each angle and see what happens here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. I'm going to start with angle B. And so remember how to do this. We're going to go ahead and put our point right there on B, on vertex B. Make an arc going across. You can go all the way across or just do each side. And then I'm going to put my point right here. Make an arc. My point right there and make an arc. And I'm going to connect this point to vertex B. Okay, now let's go ahead and do that for C. So once again, put my sharp point right there on vertex C. You can do arc across, and come up here. And then we'll do angle A. Okay, once again, what do you notice about the angle bisectors of this triangle? Well, again, you can see that they all intersect at one common point. So this one is called the end center. So they meet at the same point called the end center. The end center is the middle of the triangle. So this point right here, the end center, is the exact middle, what we would consider the middle of the triangle. Okay, that is lesson number 8-2. If you have any more questions on how to construct any of these, there are great videos at openmathreference.com. So openmathref right there on how to do a perpendicular bisector. Then there's another one right here for how to do the bisector of an angle. So if you have any more questions, you're welcome to go look at that website and watch those two videos.